Good morning. I feel like I look uniquely terrible today because it is 7 a.m. and I woke up like an hour ago and I just feel like I really want to make a video because I have a lot of thoughts about, you guessed it, Catcher in the Rye. And it's a little tangent. It's very funny that I just do not care when I make a YouTube video. I feel like when I'm on like Twitter or TikTok or any of the other apps, if I like ever show my face, I'm always so careful to make sure that I look perfect at all times, and I just don't care when it comes to YouTube. Probably because I don't have the video editing skills, so I just consider it a lost cause. Um, but anyway, this is like uniquely bad for me because the only thing I did was brush my hair and like wash up a little bit. Usually I at least try to like get out of my pajamas. Um, but anyway, so what I want to talk about is two things mainly. I want to talk about the scene with Holden's teacher, and I want to talk about um, just a little something. I'll get into it. A little something I noticed about a conversation he has with the nuns that I can't believe I forgot to mention that scene. I forgot that scene existed, which is crazy because that's the funniest scene to me. Um, okay, so let's get started. Uh, Basically, in the first video I ever made about Catcher in the Rye, I was talking about themes of abuse, and I was talking about how every character is like Holden regards with great suspicion because he's coded as a character of who is an abuse survivor and has this suspicion towards any authoritative figure. And I think in the last Catcher video I made, I said something about how there's kind of this like distrust of adulthood, that becoming an adult or becoming a man is a very something will happen to you that will turn you into an abuser, that Holden fear. Um anyway, I showed that video to people whose opinions I respect. And I've like, for instance, my instructor in my MFA program said that he wasn't sure if he would call what happened with Mr. Antolini abusive because he feels that that's a simplification of what happened. I've talked to other people who have said that they didn't and still don't register that scene as abusive. They think that either one person said they felt that it was Mr. Antolini trying to act like a father, but that Holden is so traumatized that he cannot register that affection as normal. Others have said that it's a more tragic thing about Holden not wanting to accept help or comfort from other people. And to them, I get what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree. There are multiple interpretations because the scene is, I'm just going to read you the passage because it is pretty ambiguous. So what chapter is it? Let me just cite my sources more. Okay, it's like at the end of chapter 24. So, he goes over to Mr. Antolini's house. He's like, had several days now of just wasting his money wandering around in the cold winter of New York and drinking. Okay. So Holden goes to bed. Uh, then something Then something happened. I don't even like to talk about it. I woke up all of a sudden. I don't know what time it was or anything, but I woke up. I felt something on my head, some guy's hand. Boy, it really scared the hell out of me. It was Mr. Antolini's hand. What he was doing was, he was sitting on the floor right next to the couch, in the dark and all, and he was sort of petting me or patting me on the goddamn head. Boy, I'll bet I jumped about 1,000 feet. What the hell are you doing? I said. Nothing. I'm simply sitting here admiring. What are you doing? I said anyway, over and over again. I didn't know what the hell to say. I was embarrassed as hell. How about keeping your voice down? I'm simply sitting here. I have to go, I said. Boy, was I nervous. I started putting on my damn pants in the dark. I could hardly get them on, I was so damn nervous. I knew more damn perverts at school and all than anybody you've ever met, and they're always being perverty when I'm around. You have to go where? Mr. Antolini said. He was trying to act very goddamn casual and cool and all, but he wasn't any too goddamn cool, take my word. I left my bags and all at the station. I think I better go down and get 'em. I have all my stuff in them. They'll be there in the morning. Go back to bed. I'm going to bed myself. What's the matter with you? Nothing's the matter. It's just that all my money and stuff's in one of the bags. I'll get a cab and I'll be right back, I said. Boy, I was falling all over myself in the dark. The thing is, it isn't mine, the money, it's my mother's, and don't be ridiculous, Holden. Get back in that bed. I'm going to bed myself. The money will be safe and sound in the morning. No, no kidding. I gotta get going. I really do. I was damn near all dressed already, except that I couldn't find my tie. I couldn't remember where I'd put my tie. I put on my jacket and all without it. Old Mr. Antolini was now sitting in a big chair a little away from me, watching me. It was dark and all, and I couldn't see him so hot, but I knew he was watching me all. He was still boozing, too. I could see his trusty highball glass in his hand. You're a very, very strange boy. I know it, I said. I didn't even look around much for my tie, so I went without it. Goodbye, sir. Thanks a lot. No kiddin'. He kept walking behind me when I went to the front door, and when I rang the elevator bell, he stayed in the damn doorway. All he said was that business about my being a very, very strange boy. Then he waited in the doorway and all till the goddamn elevator came. I never waited so long for an elevator in my whole goddamn life, I swear. I didn't know what the hell to talk about while I was waiting for the elevator, and he kept standing there, so I said, I'm gonna start reading some good books. I really am. I mean, you had to say something. You grab your bags and scoot right back on here. I'll leave the door unlatched. Thanks a lot, I said. Goodbye. The elevator was finally there. I got in and went down. Boy, I was shaking like a madman. I was sweating too. When something perverty like that happens, I start sweating like a bastard. That kind of stuff's happened to me about 20 times since I was a kid. I can't stand it. Okay. I meant to only read the first part and then go back to the second part later, but I swear to God, Holden's narrative, you get in a rhythm with it. Um, okay. So what I want to say now, break it down a bit. Um, to begin with, Holden says he doesn't even like to talk about this. And then he kind of breezes by. This scene comes very frantically. And so I don't think it's totally unreasonable to think that maybe Holden's leaving out some key details. However, let's assume that Holden is telling us completely the truth, right? Then yes, that is a fairly ambiguous moment where he's touching Holden's head in the dark, you know, patting his hair in the dark or whatever. But the thing is, it is okay. I feel like all around we can agree that it's inappropriate, especially given that he's drinking while this is happening. I mean, I teach, and I can tell you we are not supposed to touch the kids under any circumstances. So that's kind of to me, a violation of a teacher-student relationship. But also, the reaction that Mr. Antolini has when Holden wants to leave is, to me, very telling, because he first begins by not owning up to what happened. Or, granted, devil advocate, Holden doesn't give him a chance to. Holden keeps interrupting him, but to me, he still is trying to immediately downplay it and just saying it's not a big deal. Then he just starts saying over and over again that Holden is a strange boy and just kind of puts this all back onto Holden and saying, you know, questioning Holden's ability to perceive what's going on. And that just feels like such an abuser tactic to me that his reaction is so suspicious to Holden freaking out is so suspicious to me that I feel like there was something more, in his intent. Granted, I don't totally know what you could say to Holden that would make him, not register that as, a horrifying moment, but I do think that his reaction to immediately downplaying it and then just calling Holden strange is very, as I said, suspicious. Okay, so in conclusion, yeah, I guess you don't need to. There are valid ways to read it, and we can't necessarily say that he was trying to assault Holden in any way, at least not based on what was given to us. But as I said, his intentions seem suspicious. I need a new word besides suspicious. Um, I don't trust him. That's all I'm gonna say. Especially and as I said, it's so inappropriate. And this poor kid needs a break. Okay, cat off screen. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is a thing I noticed for the first time rereading about. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm so tired. I need more coffee. Okay, as you'll know, for my first video, I was very adamant about the fact that I refused to classify James Castle's death as a suicide. I do not consider it a suicide. I consider it manslaughter at the very least. Because what happened, for those who don't remember, is that he was locked in a room with these other classmates who were doing something that Holden says, and I quote, is too repulsive to describe, which, as I also said, made me think that might be sexual in nature, because why is it too repulsive? And to escape them, James Castle jumped out the window because he was locked in the dorm. Like, he didn't have anywhere else to go. I do not consider that a suicide. That's trying to escape torture. And not, like, what are we gonna do? Stay in the burning building? Like, just saying. Anyway, now there's a scene in the book that I cannot believe I forgot existed because it's great. Where Holden is talking, he meets these nuns and he starts talking to them about literature. And again, I'm just going to read it. So there's two nuns, and one of them is more enthusiastic because she's an English teacher. And she wants to know all about the books that Holden read at school that year. So he tells her that he read he read Return of the Native, he read Beowulf, he read Romeo and Juliet, and then the nun's like, "Oh, Romeo and Juliet, that's so lovely. Don't you just love Romeo and Juliet?" And since I'm going to try to start citing things, this is in chapter 15. And Holden says, "Yeah, I liked Romeo and Juliet, but there were a couple things I didn't like, but it was moving, whatever." And she wants him to elaborate on what he didn't like about it. So he says, "Well, I'm not too crazy about Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I like them, but I don't know. They get pretty annoying sometimes." And a quick aside, Holden, that's how everyone feels about you. I mean, I felt sorrier when old Mercutio got killed than when Romeo and Juliet did. The thing is, I never liked Romeo too much after Mercutio got stabbed by the other man, Tybalt. It was Romeo's fault. I mean, I liked him the best in the play, old Mercutio. I don't know. All those Montagues and Capulets, they're all right, especially Juliet. But Mercutio, it's hard to explain. He was very smart and entertaining and all. And the thing is, it drives me crazy if somebody gets killed, especially if it's somebody very smart and entertaining and all, and it's somebody else's fault. Okay. And a quick aside, I texted my friend, him saying that Juliet was one of the better characters is what we call feminism. Jokes aside, saying when somebody is like smart and entertaining and then they get killed and it's somebody else's fault. Okay, Holden is not smart enough or self-aware enough to make a direct connection. But I feel very strongly that at that moment he is actually that perception is very much influenced by what happened to James Castle. Because he does directly, when he does talk about James Castle, he does directly blame the boys who were in the room with him for why he died. And he's like very angry about the fact that they didn't face any consequences for it. And, you know, Holden really does downplay what his relationship to James Castle was like. I've seen a lot of people just refer to James Castle simply as a classmate from his school. But as I just said, I think he's downplaying it because James Castle was wearing a sweater that Holden lent him when he died. So where did he get the sweater from? I feel like they were possibly friends. They were, at the very least, they had something of a rapport with each other, that they talked to each other a couple of times. So very smart and entertaining. One could, I don't know, as I said, I think it's not a direct connection because he's not articulate enough to make that direct connection. But he is what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry guys, it's 7:15 in the morning. Okay. He's had so much trauma in his life and like that it has completely influenced the way he perceives things and the way it's filtered his worldview. I mean, I'm sure I've talked, and I'm sure your English teacher has talked at length about how often Holden says, "It killed me," when he means something's funny. So, and he's had his little brother die horribly, and he's had his roommate die. So, I I got like very dorkily excited as soon as I read that line because I was just like, oh my god, it's James Castle. And I didn't have anyone else to share that with because I mean I did email my instructor about it, but I don't get to teach Catcher in the Rye at school, so I decided to make a YouTube video just highlighting that passage. Anyway, I'm gonna go eat some breakfast and get some coffee. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll talk soon. Bye.